Hello and welcome to another This Week in Warhammer Fantasy. So we've got a few thrilling things to look at for this week in Warhammer Fantasy. To begin, we've got the return of Grombendal as a new miniature. So this is the White Dwarf, so the actual White Dwarf that the White Dwarf magazine is named from. Well, I suppose it's actually the other way around, but this is him, the White Dwarf. I think this is really cool classic miniature. I never really like when they put faction bound stuff on the base because that sort of dates it, but I don't know, especially his hand feels metal sculpt to me, so I'm a big fan of this model. You could definitely use him as a Dwarf Lord in fantasy. Just put him on a square base and Bob's your uncle. These are the old ones. So I think this is really cool. A good option for a Dwarf Lord. We've also got a Skaven Warlock Engineer that's been released, and I think this is a cool model. You could just put him on a square base and you're good to go. He works well with the Skaven aesthetic. I suppose he's going to be a bit larger, as they usually are when they release new stuff for Age of Sigmar, but I think this is a cool model. I really like the little rat on his shoulder, and some stats there as well. Then we've got so this is something I think is really interesting. They've started doing events, and we have actually started to get Warhammer Fantasy, or I suppose Warhammer the Old World events. I think this is really cool. I hope this is something that's going to keep on coming. I'm not a huge fan of the competitive Warhammer scene myself, but it's sort of an indication that Games Workshop thinks this is worth doing, this is something that's doing alright, and there's an audience to it. So I'm really happy to see it. I'm sure plenty of you are really happy to see match play old world stuff coming out. And last but not least, we've got some previews, which is partially the White Dwarf, as we've already talked about, some merch, which is probably going to be way overpriced, as it always is, but we've also got, way down here, some made to order, and I'm really excited for these made to order. I mean, this is really cool. The old Wyvern model, it's going to fall apart immediately because it's horribly sculpted, but it's beautiful in how ugly it is. I love it. We've got an old war boss. I think it's pretty cool. I wish I had one of these from before. I never did, so I might get this one. I think it's pretty cool. It looks just like what I think a Black Orc war boss would look like. Of course, they've got a new Black Orc war boss already, which also looks really cool, but this sort of has that chunkiness that the old ones had. You've got the Marauder Giant. I know so many of us have been waiting for this. Finally, we have the Marauder Giant, the big unibrow, the huge metal sculpt, the club. It's got everything. I'm really excited to get my own Marauder Giant. I think I've only ever seen one or two in real life. They're really cool. The original giants, so to say. Really excited for this. And then we've got some stone trolls, really cool, I think, and the river trolls. So these are the older versions. Of course, there are new trolls that you can buy, and I think they look objectively better, but these ones just have a different sense of character to them. I mean, the way he's eyeing up their opponents, looking at something a bit extra. Same with these guys. You can, as I said before, you can sort of feel the hand sculpt in it. It's got so much more character than most of the new stuff. But I'm really excited to see it. I'm really excited to see what people do with these really old models when they get available. We're also getting some more Osgiliath, which I know it's Middle-earth, but don't skip on this terrain. This terrain is epic for Warhammer Fantasy. It works charms. It's really good for building up a set. I mean, this kit would be enough to have a wargaming table for Warhammer Fantasy. You do not need more than this. But yeah, and there's some some more stuff. But that's basically it for this week in Warhammer Fantasy. So not a lot of new releases, but some interesting stuff. And finally, we've got the long-awaited Marauder Giant. But, what do you think? Is there anything that you think I've missed? Anything that you've got your own reflection on? Tell me in the comments below.